It's Zach Martin on Venue as well as New HD. We have our guest today, Ryan Jones, who is the lead singer and guitarist with Corvus Lore. It's all about the songs. For this band, the motivation has always been to write music that is memorable, inspiring, and possess the perfect blend of the various styles of rock music that they grew up on, keeping original rock music alive today. All four members have unique backgrounds and experiences that range from doing sessions work in LA for major songwriters and industry professionals to being a Latin pop band on Sony EMI. You will hear many sides revealed in their music. Corvus Lore takes you on a heavy musical ride, delivering songs that makes you set the needle back and want to listen again and again and again. And that's great when you have an album. Before we talk about the song that we're playing, Romantic Traffic from the new album Lucinda, why don't you tell us about the other members of the band and what makes you guys the next Velvet Revolver?
Well, first of all, Zach, that was a great rundown. I appreciate the introduction there. Yeah, so Corvus Lore, four band members, as you said, they'll have various backgrounds and different levels of types of music that we've done throughout the years. So Joey Cloutier is our drummer, and he's been in a lot of bands that had some prominent success. Ones like Big Wood, and recorded with some pretty big artists himself. And Joey's just your quintessential power drummer, but he has some grace and just knows the space very well. So he's a dynamic player in his own right when it comes to drumming. And then Mike Oneto, our bassist, as we affectionately call him, the Velvet Thunder, or the five-string assassin. He plays a five-string bass. And he's a lefty. And so one of his heroes is Paul McCartney. But dynamic, incredible player, session player himself, did some time in LA, escaped LA. And his style of play is very unique because it's like he's almost doing a totally different song within the one song we're playing, and it all makes it all work. It's pretty awesome. And Eric Frazier, our lead guitarist, he's a gentleman that was on the Latin band that you mentioned, was signed with Sony. And Eric is just a phenomenal player in terms of just how I describe him as an emotional player. He's by far the best guitarist I've ever played with. He's a tone junkie, and his heroes are many of the Page and the Van Halen and whatnot. But he has his own taste and unique style and flavor. And Eric's just he just makes magic happen. He's an incredible player.
Let's talk about your album, Lucinda. This is your second album.
Yeah. So the first album was recorded basically live on the floor at Tiny Telephone Studios in Oakland. We wanted to take a different approach with the second album, Lucida, where we hooked up with the infamous Tim Narducci. We like to call him Golden Ears Narducci. He's a phenomenal producer, engineer, and singer and songwriter in his own right. He does incredible work and has touched a lot of places throughout his career. We wanted to connect with him because the songs from the first album to the second album definitely had a different, deeper approach. Our writing style evolved, and we knew it was going to be a heavier lift when it comes to production. And Tim was the guy that was going to be able to take those songs and be able to twist them and manipulate them in a way to give them some sort of new life and differentiation from the first album. And so, yeah, we went in the studio. It was all Pro Tools. It was just, the first album, like I said, was live on the floor, and it was all analog. It was 2-inch reel to reel. So the second album, we had a little bit more comfort with just, typical Pro Tools roadmap. Did the drums, did the guitars, bass, and vocals and everything were last. I did a lot of the vocals basically solo on my own. And for me, it was the first time in my career I was able to work with someone like Tim, who's a singer in his own right, where he was also a producer. And as I was singing and recording the tracks, just having his experience and expertise and just guiding me through, try this or try that. It was really refreshing because I haven't had really a singer be a producer as well for me. So it was really nice change of pace.
I would say for anybody listening right now, the Pro Tools is multi-digital track recording. It's how a lot of bands record these days, as opposed to the multi-track in the old day when I was just a little boy in the studios myself with all kinds of patch cords. They've definitely made it easier, and the
Right.
technology enables more people to make great music. And I think that there's probably an advantage to both styles of recording. I like recording live straight when you don't have multi tracks. It gives you
Right.
the exact sound of what the band sounds like. Because I don't know about you, Ryan, but there have been many times growing up, I'd go to a concert and I'd think to myself, this band sounds not even close to what they put out.
Right.
It's sort of like they overpromise and underdeliver. So I think it's really a balance between the two. At least you know what you guys sound like live. So then when you do the second album, correct me if I'm wrong, and you use the newer technology like Pro
Right.
Tools in a studio, I think it adds all the dynamics because you got to feel for each other. You don't have to be fully present with each and every member of the band.
I totally agree with you. I think you hit it right on the head. I remember going to concerts, seeing some of the bands I grew up watching and playing, and it was that very thing. It was like, gosh, they don't sound anything like the album. And granted, they're doing shows almost every night, and that's a tough thing to do over every single night and write. But our goal on on the second album was like everything you hear on that album, we do live. We wanted to make sure when we recorded that album, we couldn't do something that we could not pull off live. Um, so I mean, there's no like our live shows typically. I mean, we're all singing. There's no backing tracks. There's nothing. It's real. It's raw. It's authentic. No shenanigans. And that's like kind of like a little thing within us and the band is like we're not going to do tracks. What you hear is real. And so when we went into the recording of the second album, we were cognizant of that. We didn't want to we didn't want to like do something that we couldn't pull off live. And I think the first album, going back to that one, cutting an album live on the floor, reel to reel. I mean, you better be able to pull it off. And I think it really, kind of geared us and trained us a little bit for when we went into recording Lucida, being aware of that. It's like, okay, let's just not like put tons of bells and whistles on this thing. And all of a sudden you see someone live and it's just a disappointment. No, we definitely do not do that at all. We pull it off just as you hear on the album, which we'll release, probably sometime late spring, but it's a good point. And it drives me nuts when you see that or hear that nowadays. Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you think about it, there is probably even for the Beatles, if they tried to go do Sergeant Pepper's after
Oh,
recording that album, it would be a disaster area.
right.
So, yeah, you want to basically put together albums and music that are easily relatable to people, that tell a nice story, or sometimes you don't even have to be too intense to the lyrics. Let people make up their mind what they get out of the song. So
Yeah.
those are the things that I like to hear. Now, let me ask you this question. On your way to a show or on your way to recording, what are you jamming out to before you go and do your thing?
For me, when it was actually going in to do vocals, I was actually literally last minute coming up with ideas like, oh, I want to sing this or sing that. So I'm actually playing the scratch tracks of what we already laid down. And so just running through some ideas in my head, and not everything's totally mapped out. So I'm playing scratch tracks there, but to help me warm up, some of my heroes, I'm listening to Chris Cornell or Mr. Weiland, people like that. Depending on the song though, too. If the song is, a little bit of a different pace, I might lean into a different type of singer that would be inspiring for me to kind of carry over. There's a song on the album called Tiger Lily Rumble. It's awesome. It's just about a story of my wife and I and everything that we've gone through in our lives and everything and whatnot. But it's very Bowie-esque when it comes to the vocals. And I really wanted that Bowie vibe. So, pull up some Bowie before I go
Yeah.
into the studio and sing it.
And of course, sometimes me win, sometimes you win. Tiger Lily from Peter Pan. Remember that?
All right.
Yeah, there you go. So back to where we started in the beginning, you compare yourself to Velvet Revolver, which it really stuck out to me, or the next Velvet Revolver. Let's go into that a little bit more. They were a great super band. I just want to know, like, your take and It's a great band to be like, and it's not ordinary. Usually people go, we want to be like Led Zeppelin. We want to be like Nirvana. Want to be like Pearl Jam or Guns N' Roses. But Velvet Revolver, I think, is a very interesting pick.
Well, we didn't pick it. Somebody just coined it that way, and I can't remember the gentleman who was, but
you didn't
at first,
say no.
well, I'll take it. I mean, that's a huge compliment. I mean, wow. I mean, to use your words, that was a super group and a half, right? I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, just phenomenal band. Musically speaking, I guess there's some similarities, but I think there's probably a little bit of a lighter side to Corvus Lore than Velvet Revolver, although we have some pretty heaviness as well. But I think that's just, we set out to be Corvus Lore. We don't set out to be like anybody else. And it's funny you mentioned that, because it's kind of like people do try to be like this or be like that. And to me, it's just not organic and authentic. It's just like, let the music speak for itself. Whatever comes out, and that's who you are, and that's your DNA, and frickin' play it. I mean, be real or get the hell out of the way.
Okay, it's sort of like on the disc jockey radio personality side. I don't think there's any of us who are actually original at what we do. If you're smart, you steal the best from all the other masters and you make it your own. And that's the trick of the trade. Even for music, you take from the masters and you make it into your own. It doesn't mean you're exactly copying their style or their lyrics or anything like that, but you take that influence and you pour it into everything you got. If I was going to put together a band, I would go, all right, give me some Pink Floyd. I definitely, for some reason, the Who jumps in at me, and give me a little bit of that Led Zeppelin, and throw in some Guns N' Roses, and the Cult. I really like them, and
love the Cult.
Cure. I would try to
love
figure
the Cure
out how
too.
Follow me at Zach Martin Rocks for more. All right, you're going to be doing a couple shows with Tesla.
Yeah, no, we're billed to do right now one show with Tesla, the Reading Civic Auditorium here on the 15th of this month. And we're hoping to connect with them on more shows, but this will be our first show and we're really excited about it. And I love Tesla. I mean, that band, I mean, they cover a wide range of music from, like you said, Zeppelin-y to hard rock to heavy rock to, I want to say glam, but blues. Frank Hannon and the rest of that gang, I mean, they're phenomenal. And Jeff Keith as well is a phenomenal singer. So we're excited about it. And hopefully, we could get to do some more gigs with them.
I'm going to ask, a very standard interview question, just out of curiosity's sake, because I didn't have time to do my research. What does Corvus Lore mean? How did you come up with the name? Tell us a little bit about that.
It was accidental. It really doesn't mean anything. The original band name was Silent Picture Show.
Okay.
And,
all right. Yeah.
And the album was called Corvus Lore. And we got some cease and desist letter from some management firm saying, oh, your band name is too close to our band name and yada, yada, yada. I didn't want to change it, but the rest of the guys said, yeah, let's change it. And they said, let's just name the band Corvus Lore, which was the name of the first album. And it turned out to actually be better name for us overall. And I don't know. And, Corvus is basically scientific name of the raven, and lore, well, folklore. So no significant meaning.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I guess sometimes you just come up with things off the top of your head. Like when I came up with the whole big fat American idea, I'm like, I'm big, I'm fat, I'm American. It's easy to remember. I don't have to, I'm not stressing about losing weight, right? So it's perfect. And then I've lost weight ever since. So it's one of those things.
It's, how it is too. It's like you come up with a band name and it's like, oh, that's taken, or somebody has it. And the fact that we got corvuslore.com as a domain was phenomenal. I mean, we're still kind of marveling over that till this day. It's next to impossible, but it's cool. It works.
You're not the first band that had that happen. Van Halen, I think they wanted to be Genesis until they went to a record store and they're like, oh man, there's already a Genesis. Can't do that. It's true.
Right.
So, well, thank you very much, Ryan Jones of Corvus Lore. How can people follow you? Where can they buy the album? And how do they get tickets to your shows?
Yeah, so we're on the usual suspects of all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook. You can follow us on the YouTube channel. You can follow us also on Valley of Fire Records YouTube channel. And yeah, just go to the upcoming show with Tesla. The only way to get tickets for the Tesla show with Corvus Lore is basically through the Reading Civic Auditorium. They're pretty tightly vested on that for scalping ticket reasons and stuff like that. And we got a show coming up at Mama Ken's this coming weekend on the 11th, which is in San Jose, and you get tickets at the door there. And then we got a show on the 24th at Longboards Pacifica, and just come on out and show the love and enjoy some nice rock and roll.
Great, Ryan. And now for the radio listening audience, we are going to go into Romantic Traffic from Lucinda. Hope I said that right. Why don't you give us the intro to the song, and we'll take it from there. Music.
Right on. Hey, everybody. This is Ryan Jones of Corvus Lore, and you're going to be listening to Romantic Traffic.